Hey friends, today I want to share one of my favorite low maintenance gardening tips, letting cherry tomatoes reseed themselves. It's a simple hands-off way to enjoy a bountiful harvest every year without planting a single seed or transplanting a transplant. So let's dig in. It all starts right here. All season long, I let nature do the work. When tomatoes fall off the vine, I leave them right where they land. They rot and some sink down into the soil, and that's exactly what we want. By letting these little guys stay put in the soil, they're naturally reseeding the garden for next spring. I don't need to buy new seeds. I don't need to start seedlings indoor. I don't even need to transplant tomato plants. It just happens, and it happens well. Come spring, once the weather warms up, I start to see volunteer cherry tomato plants popping up all over the place. And at this point, all I have to do is thin them out. I pull up the extras, leave the strongest, healthiest plants where I want them, and the plants grow. Now, if for some strange reason it doesn't work and you don't get any volunteer sprouts, you don't have to worry. You can still have tomato plants. You just get a few plants from your local nursery and transplant them in. But I've always had several volunteer cherry tomato plants sprout up each spring, and so I don't even have to buy them. I haven't bought them in several years. The key, though, is being able to recognize what a tomato plant looks like, especially when it's young and doesn't have any tomatoes on it yet. Get to know your tomato plants and become familiar with how they look, especially when they're young. The leaves are bright green with a slightly serrated edge and a fuzzy texture. The stem is green and sturdy but flexible, often with small hairs, trichomes, that give it a slightly fuzzy appearance. It's the hairs on the stem that are a clear giveaway to me. I know the plants were there to start with, and then when I have young plants popping up that look like that, I know that those are tomato plants. If you can identify these volunteer cherry tomato plants when they sprout, you can pull up the weeds around them, but leave the tomato plants. And then the tomato plants will grow and mature. And when the plants start producing those beautiful, delicious cherry tomatoes, it's a dead giveaway. To verify, you have a volunteer tomato plant that will give you loads and loads of cherry toms all season long. I take great pride in being lazy with my volunteer tomato plants. They planted themselves, so I let them take care of themselves. I don't stake them, I don't cage them, I don't fertilize them, and I rarely water them. I just let them sprawl out right over the garden bed and do their own thing. And yet, every year, these volunteer plants are some of the most productive and hardiest plants in my garden. I pick what I need throughout the year and give the rest away. And trust me, there are more than enough tomatoes to go around. I dry them, I can them, I preserve them in all sorts of ways, but there's still too many. Plenty to share and plenty for my own family. At the end of the season, when the frost hits or I need space for fall or for winter crops, I pull up the dead plants, but I always leave any fallen tomatoes behind in the garden bed. It's the perfect setup for the next year's crop. And that's it. Next spring, those seeds will sprout again and the cycle continues. Simple, sustainable, and a whole lot of fun. So if you're looking for an easy way to keep your garden productive year after year, give this a try. Let your cherry tomatoes do their thing, and they'll reward you with a harvest that just keeps on coming. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." Letting cherry tomatoes reseed themselves each year is a small act of faith. The tomatoes fall to the ground and reseed the soil, and you trust that something will sprout in the spring. There's no guarantee, yet you believe in the process because you've seen it work before. Faith in our spiritual life works much the same way. We plant seeds through prayers, acts of kindness, studying our Bible, worshiping, and we trust in God's timing. We don't always see immediate results, but we continue to believe that God is at work beneath the surface. Sometimes the growth is abundant, and other times it's sparse. But faith reminds us that God's provision is steady, even if the harvest looks different each season. Just like the tomatoes that sprout without fertilizer or extra effort, God's blessings often grow naturally in our lives in the areas where we've been faithful. Our role is to tend what appears, thin the distractions, and trust that God will provide exactly what we need. So as you wait for those volunteer tomatoes to return, let it be a reminder of Hebrews 11:1. Have confidence in the unseen work God is doing in your life. Faith isn't about controlling the outcome, but trusting in the one who makes all things grow. Thanks for watching today, my friends. Now let's get out there and let's grow and be fruitful.